Gareth, have faith in me. What about that performance? 147.5.
Yeah, he went out of this world, didn't he, Hazy? Even when you look at the head-on camera, he galloped and he stopped. He lost momentum about 50 or 60 from home, and he still was able to pick himself up and win that race. It was a superb effort. How good he can be, well, we don't know. He could be our greatest ever pacer the way he went. He's only 4 years of age. He'll have a long break now and head towards the New Zealand Cup. But what he did that day, we all shook our head in amazement, really, what he was able to achieve through his campaign in Sydney. Not only did he win the Miracle Mile, but he dominated a Chariots of Fire. So he's just a special horse for Mark Purdon, another one in that barn for the All-Star team.
He's one of those horses that's going to have some fun over the next few years, because performances like Sunday is going to give him so much respect when he gets into races. People are going to be happy to hand him the front, and we know what he can do because he's got that tremendous speed.
Well, it's handy for the 4-year-olds back in New Zealand because he's going for a break now. He misses all those big 4-year-old races over in Auckland, I think. So he'll have a bit of a let-up and he'll go to the New Zealand Cup. I don't know how good he'll be. He could just win everything he can test as a 5-year-old. It usually takes a couple of seasons for horses to really dominate a grand circuit. On the Mighty Quinn was the same. It took him a season and a half before he started to dominate. Smoking Up was similar. So this horse is already doing what they did as a 4-year-old. It's quite astonishing and scary for the opposition.
What about Lenny the Shark? He was so gallant. He's gone down a nose in 147.5, and well, when he dashed away, it looked like he was home for all money.
He can't do any more this season. He was an Inter-Dominion champion. He had to do all the work in the breeze and sensational time, and then I think that was his real big grand final. David Aiken, when he started this preparation, the Inter-Dominion was the race he wanted to win. He won a Victoria Cup. He was brave in a Ballarat Cup, and then the Miracle Mile. He had the gun run. He sat on the back of Bow Tide, and Bow Tide probably didn't carry him into the straight as long as Chris Elford wanted him to, but he was still brave, Lenny the Shark. Like, he's gone a career best effort, nearly 147.5. David Aiken is so proud of what he's been able to achieve this year. He's got a big season in front of him. He's only lightly raced. He's had a few injury problems after he won that Derby. He had a long layoff after that in the New South Wales Derby. Then he went to the David Aiken team, and since then he took a season really to establish himself. I thought his last run, that Len Smith Mile, and he went out for a break behind Bow Tide and Smolder, was really good, and then he's just gone on with it this year. So he's in for another big campaign next season. I think he's only going to have a little time off because of his legs. They can't let him out in the paddock for too long, get too fat. So we might see him back in Sydney for the Len Smith Mile and maybe a campaign in Queensland, but it's going to be something else. And it was a great race on Sunday, but we forget Chris and me. He's back in work and ready to go, so he won't be far away, and I think he's been aimed up at that Len Smith Mile.
What about some of the other races? Let's firstly talk about the Ladyship Mile. That was taken out by Frith. She deserved a big feature Group 1 in a home state.
Yeah, Frith, what a mighty horse she is, and she deserved to break that $1 million barrier. What a performance it was by her on Sunday, and all credit to Todd McCarthy as well, and Belinda and Luke McCarthy that gave this the driving duties to Toddy McCarthy and said, well, if you want this drive, you can keep this drive. And he was switched on from the day he walked into Menangle. I saw him, he had his game face on, and he got everyone at the start, and then from then he just dictated that race. Basically, that race was over after 800 metres because there was no pressure. She got away with a really easy second quarter, and she just dashed up that straight at Menangle and was too strong. But what a mare she's been. She's been all over the country. She's won races in Perth. She's done a pretty good job in Victoria and New South Wales. Her gate speed, what an asset it is, because she just puts herself into the race, and the time she can run in those mares races, she's always hard to beat.
What did you make of our Waikiki Beach in the New South Wales Derby? Of course, you are a part shareholder in Can't Refuse. You must have been proud of him, but what did you make of the beach?
Well, Waikiki Beach in the gig on Tuesday night, Mark Purdon did say that this horse is going for a spell now because he wasn't as sharp as Nelly would have wanted him for that Derby run, even though he won, which is scary to his opposition. We all thought we got close to our Waikiki Beach, but he'll be set now for the New Zealand Derby in Christchurch, so we don't get to see that clash in the Northern Derby between Lazarus and our Waikiki Beach. We have to wait a little bit longer, but what a superstar he is. He's done nothing wrong. He's won 16 from 16. The question now is whether he's a better mile or over a trip. Mark says he wasn't at his best in this campaign in Sydney, but he's still winning and he's still running amazing times. So you can't take anything away from that horse.
What are you doing with Can't Refuse?
Can't Refuse is really good. He's been a little bit of a surprise packet for us. Matty Craven's done a wonderful job. I thought his effort in the Victoria Derby was really good. He was only in Matty Craven's care a week before the Victoria Derby heat. So Barry Purdon did a wonderful job with him as well back over in New Zealand. He didn't have any luck in New Zealand as well. He had some bad draws in some of those bigger races. He was always out the back and his times were still really good. He'll head now to the WA Derby. It's not going to be easy over there. You've got Sprinter. Hawley's got a couple of really nice horses. I think Mark Reed purchased Art Form from the Stephen Reed camp for a lot of money, and he was really competitive against a Lazarus recently over in New Zealand. So it's going to be a hard race to win, the WA Derby, but if he draws the lead, I don't think they'll beat him.
And what about the filly, Our Dream About Me? What did you make of her?
I think she could be the best out of all the 3-year-olds we've seen this season. What a stellar 3-year-old crop we've had. Natalie Rasmussen, when you ask her about this horse, she's in love with her. I think you're in love with her as well. What she did on Sunday, just to put it into comparison with her run, say with the Blacks Are Fake, she went quicker than what he did to win an Inter-Dominion as an open class horse, and he's one of our greats, Blacks Are Fake. She's a 3-year-old filly. So she'll head now to New Zealand to compete in the Oaks over there in Christchurch and then be aimed up at the Jewels, because funnily enough, she hasn't won any money in New Zealand yet, so she's not quite qualified yet for the Jewels, but it won't take her long. She's something else. And I think if we had a race between... this is a big call. Our Waikiki Beach Lazarus and Our Dream About Me. I'm probably with the filly at the moment.
Wow, okay. And what did you make of the win in the Bohemia Crystal Free for All? Because there's been a bit said about that. Smolder's performance in winning.
Well, you can't take anything away from Smolder, and despite the All-Star team having all these classic horses and some superstars like I Have Faith in Me, I think Smolder's still one of their favourites, because when Mark Purdon came over to Australia to target our sales, Smolder was the first horse basically he purchased. I think he got him for around $30,000, and he was still trying to advertise this horse on his website a fair while after, and eventually he's just been a stunning horse for him. He's had his injury concerns as well during the years. He's missed a bit of racing, but he's been so brave this season. His New Zealand Cup effort was extraordinary behind Arden Rooney when he missed the kick and went to the breeze. He was so brave behind Have Faith in Me in an Auckland Cup, and then he went to Australia and he deserved all the victories that went his way. He was so good in a Ballarat Cup, brave behind Lenny in a Victoria Cup, and then to win a 100 Cup and doing all the work he did on that occasion, he deserved that big Grand Slam win. And then his Bohemian Crystal, well, he was the best horse in the race. There was controversy with Luke McCarthy letting Smolder out. But when you have a look back at the replay, and probably as a perception, when you watched that race, and a few people came to me after the race said that didn't look good, but when you understand the way Hijinks races, he was at the back of the field. He was no hope to run a place from where he was when they were walking. So when Luke McCarthy made that move, you can understand why he did, and then he let Smolder out, but he gets the one out, one back cover with him. And then all of a sudden he's in a far better position than he was 100 metres before. He didn't go any good, Hijinks. He dropped out. He was disappointing. I don't know if there was anything wrong with him, but it was too bad to be true. So I can understand what Luke McCarthy was doing. It might have not looked good, but when you understand the horses and you do your form, I think I can understand where Luke McCarthy was doing with that horse.
And finally, your highlight of the day.
It's tough. Like, you can't go past the Miracle Mile when they go 147.5. Like, you've been in this game a long time, a lot longer than I have, but we didn't ever dreamt of horses going that quick. Remember when Smoking Up and Lance Justice says, I'll be the first horse to break 150. We thought that would be a long time before that would happen ever again, but they're doing it a lot these days, especially the good horses. And what Have Faith in Me did, doing that 147.5, and he had to pick himself up at the 100 metre mark and then get going again. How can you go past him? But that filly's pretty special.